looks good. Hey, what's up, Corpse Jack? How you doing, bud? Um, I'm working on a game jam game. It's going pretty good. Bizmaster Studios did some art for me. He just did this little asteroid. You see it? And he gave me a ship too, which I'm gonna replace this ship with. It's like a Vampire Survivors like game. Twitch.tv. Let me put some music on. How are you doing, Corpse Jack? How's your date going? Hey, Corpse, listen to this song. This is one of the songs the composer made. Well, I didn't realize that I'm on the... I didn't realize I was on the wrong view. That's funny. Looking up RPG Maker jokes for my next video, you have to implement some humor, so I'm like, maybe I can just... Look at this meme. Neuroscientist, successful SEO, well-paid actor, doctor, lawyer, RPG maker developer. This one is definitely me. Does he bite? No, but he can hurt you in other ways. You'll be lucky if people pay 20 bucks for your game. Make your own role-playing games. Illuminati. I see a small apartment. I see you alone. And a lot of unfinished RPG Maker projects. Jesus, that's a lot of unfinished RPG Maker projects. More obscure, but this was something I made 15 years ago. RGSS4. I think he's gonna say his first words. I'm recruiting for my epic game. I just need a spriter, mapper, eventer, scripter, and musician. I'll be the director. He's threw the baby in the trash. Oh my gosh. What is this? Release as soon as possible. Put a release date as possible, but only use RPT. Hey Bim Lounge, what's up, dude? How are you doing? I was just goofing around looking at RPG Maker memes. Hey D757. Hey, how's it going, guys? I'll show you, but nice looking at memes is always good. I love this one. It's the girl, she's trying to make a help on a deserted island, and then she's like, it's not working, And then she writes, my game has custom graphics and art, and then everybody starts showing up. Remember to raid more? Yeah, dude, always raid. Always raid somebody. I'm not really doing RPG Maker right this weekend, but I was just looking at some memes. I was thinking like when I make videos, I can put this in the end screen, you know? I'm gonna start putting the memes in the end screen of my videos. Really, comedy is, you have to have something kind of funny in YouTube, and not naturally that funny. I won't rest until I finish my game and other hilarious jokes you can tell yourself, volume 2. I bet he's thinking about other women, him, I think I need to give my barbarian a couple more skills. Neuroscientist, successful SEO, well-paid actor, doctor, lawyer, RPG maker, developer. Yeah, the art thing is an interesting thing. It's interesting because I have like almost all custom art in my game except for the battle backs, and I kept it in the style of RPG Maker. Oh, by the way, if you guys don't know of me, I do have a game on Steam for RPG Maker. It's free if you want to play it. It's got all good reviews, 41 positive reviews. It's a pretty short game, but I'm proud of it. It's like a series I'll probably do more later. Need more reviews. I need to get to 50. Put me on the map. Does he bite? No, but he can hurt you in other ways. You'll be lucky if people pay 20 for your game. Or you'll be lucky if 20 people play your game. Oh, he doesn't say pay 20. He says you'll be lucky if 20 people play your game. Oh, cool. Where did you get the idea for that? Thank you for the follow. Dude, Bim, you never told me that you're a fellow native Hawaiian. Bro, that's nuts. There's not a lot of us, man. That's crazy. I need that emote. Somebody give me a gifted sub. I can't afford it. Yeah, there's barely any full blood, but even part. I'm a quarter as well. Let's see what Google says. How many Hawaiians in the world? My cousins are 3/4. Yeah, my grandma was full. 370,000 native Hawaiians left in the continental US. Okay, so this is saying that there's 310,000 in Hawaii and 370,000 in the mainland US. So there's more Hawaiians in outside of Hawaii than there is in Hawaii. That sounds right. But you actually have... The thing about Hawaiians, dude, is culturally, I think, as far as like interracial marriage goes, we were like really ahead of the curve on it. Like we didn't care hundreds of years ago. You know, slavery was still a thing, and Hawaiians were intermarrying with whoever. So, you know, it's like... No, I don't want to. It's yours. If anything, I would make my own. Last thing we need is more people copying art in the world. Yeah, but it's just that culturally speaking, we, as a group, never really cared about staying with our own race. Like, and we were like ahead of everybody on that front, you know. It's not that we don't like marrying within our race, it's just that we don't care. And I'm that way too. Like I date anybody of any race. Sometimes people have told me that they're like, why don't you like white girls, and I'm like, I do, but I don't really tend to. At least the ones that I come into contact with, they tend to be a little bit more demanding than I prefer. But it's not that I'm not attracted to white women. I've had a couple white girlfriends, but it's more about, you know. That was kind of a weird thing to say just to throw in randomly. You should probably have left that out. Now y'all gonna think I'm a racist. But yeah, I've dated all kinds of races. So. Like those characters at the bottom. Yeah, they're actually from my game. Go play the game and give me a positive review. Let me see if I got... It's not really about attraction. I'm equally attracted to women of any race. So it's not that. It's more the common cultural norms within a given, within like a given race. So it's not the race itself that... I never brought up the Hawaiian thing, but now... Yeah, bro, that blows my mind. That blows my mind that you're a native Hawaiian. Because it's so rare. I'm Holly too. I'm half white. My mom's white. But yeah, anyway, what I'm saying is just culturally speaking, a lot of the white people I know, at least, including family members, the women are more demanding of their men. I don't know if and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not what I want. By demanding, I mean like they want us to be stay-at-home moms and just take care of the kids and make you financially responsible. These are all not bad things to want for a woman. It's just not the kind of stuff with my career I could really handle financially. If I was rich, maybe it'd be different, you know? A lot of like my friends that I've dated that are like Filipino or whatever, they're more willing to take on not like all of the financial responsibility in a relationship, but they take on some of it, you know, and it's just that tends to be something that's more sustainable for me. Yeah, bro, I'll be doing Godot forever. Well, not forever, but I'm doing a lot of Godot now, and I like it. It's good. I'm learning a lot, so I actually got to get to work. I've been kind of slacking. Later, Bim Lounge. Okay, let's get back to work. So this is my game so far. I'm inputting some art right now from Bizmaster Studios, but this is the ship. It will actually turn and shoot at a certain point in the development. I haven't got that set up yet, but it's gonna be like time levels, and then the enemies just come in and try to kill you, and you gotta like stop them, you know? Right now I have one attack so far. It's just a passive that kills whoever's closest to you with this little sword strike thing. It's pretty cool. I don't know what I'm gonna call it, but another raid. Holy guacamole of 10. Hey guys, what's up? Let me do a shout out. Shout out ITC Studios. Is that right? Join us in following. I'll do it too. What do you guys Wait, no, I unfollowed. Oops. Don't want to do that. Welcome, Raiders. I'm working on a game jam game. Lance285, thank you for the follow. It's in Godot. I'm kind of following a tutorial, sorta, but also doing my own thing. The game is like the style of Vampire Survivors. It's gonna be where you can shoot and you like face the direction that you're shooting, but I haven't got that set up yet. I'm just putting in some assets that my friend gave me and just trying to see how they fit in the world. So now I got like these board cube things. That I gotta put in. So these are the tiles he gave me. These are gonna be like the borders. So I'm gonna set these up really quick. So looks like the tiles themselves are this size here. I'm gonna copy that. And then I gotta see what size this is. File, new project. Board contents. Image. We'll be lurking with your game jam game. Yeah, I'm gonna be on like a couple hours now, and then I gotta take like 10 hours off. I ended up having to work, and then I'm gonna come back and finish up tonight. So I think I might just save this, and then I can save just for now. I'll set up the tile set later, but just so I can prototype it. So I'll just save image as. Now let's set up the tile set. So it's just 2 pieces. So what I'll do is I'll go image, frame, resize canvas. So it's 32 by 32. So it looks like he's doing 32 by 32 tiles, which is big. I guess that's fine though, whatever. And I'm gonna add, make this the height. Oh, let's do 32 by 64, like this. And then I'm gonna grab from the other one this bottom part. What I can do is I can just grab this whole thing and make a new one. Can't say I'll stay long, but I'll be lurking. Good luck in your game jam. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's my first time using Godot for like publishing anything. So everything's going good, but it's just a bit, I'm just a bit against the wall. It's pretty cool, been using Unity. You know, actually, I could use this. Now that I'm looking at this, I can use this as a... This is totally extendable into like a longer tile set if I divide it into 16ths. Maybe that's what he intended. That'd be cool. Well, I'll put it in and I'll see how it goes. So this one, file save as, resources, environment. Okay, so now that I have that, I can implement it into my tile set. So we're gonna grab this one that he made me, and then we can use this to draw in tiles. I'm just gonna put some in here, and actually I can put the android in here too, so let's do that. Yeah, so now I can, well, the asteroid's big. Yeah, it actually works. So, now if I go to tile map, I can just drop a big one in here. Oh, that's cool. Now, I think you can actually make them semi-continuous if we just edit it a bit. So I'm going to do that now. He just needs two pieces here. He needs an in piece, or he needs a piece that will just continue on. I've got to kind of eyeball this. I think it's here. We'll see in a second. But we need one that just keeps going, right? So you can put it in the middle. And this way we'll just have two that keep going. And then these two will be the end pieces. And that'll do it. File, save in. I might add some more. But now that I have this, come back here and pull these in, right? So now I can do like a a thing where I extend this, right? And it goes seamlessly. Here. I need I don't know if he intended for it to be like that, but that actually kind of works. And I can put in asteroids. Let me pull this asteroid out. Remove. Do it with the tile map. So we'll do this and we'll just drop in random asteroids here and there. Hey Lance. Yeah, this looks awesome. So I just edited the tile that my artist gave me in order to make it so I could make like continuous. Now with this will actually have collision later. So I won't be able to move past it. I'll interact with it, but I'm not setting that up quite yet. And then he gave me these little pickups. These ones that I made, these bright ones, are just a temporary thing. So I'm going to go ahead and implement that art that he gave me. Looks like this. They're so small you can't really see them. Is this the bad guy? Is that what that is? I don't even know. I think it is. I think this is what he wants to use for the bad guy. What does that look like to you? Does this look like a lootable item, or... The problem is me and Biz are like opposite time zones, so I didn't really have the ability to like talk to him. But I'm gonna make this a lootable item. I think that's what we're gonna. It's like a supply crate or something, because it kind of looks like one of those on Contra. It does look like a TIE fighter. I know, because Star Wars is such a huge force, right, in the world. I feel like it's gonna... I don't know. It might be like a... Do you think it would work? So you think I should make it an enemy? Let's try to make it an enemy. Save image. This is what happens when you don't actually talk to your artist. Oh, he said it's a satellite. Huh. A satellite, huh? Let's see what it looks like as an enemy. Good thing he had a name on it. Oh, dude, those are ships. Those are definitely ships. But I don't know if they're like kamikaze ships. Yeah, I'm not gonna use them for that. But they're cool. I'm definitely gonna use them. I'll put it in the tiles for now. I'm gonna keep that red one that I was using. And I'll put the satellite in the tiles. We'll do that. So save this in the tile, save image. My naming convention doesn't involve capitals. And then these will be the Experience files. I'll just save this in the base directory so I can use it later. Actually, I'll save it in the base resources directory. How about that? Maybe those are supposed to be like what you shoot. Ah, whatever. It's starting to already look better. Maybe they are defensive satellites that will only orbit your character and blast incoming enemies. Yeah, something like that. Okay, I'm gonna get back to doing the I want me to put the satellites in the tiles. That's right. Okay, so tile map. I gotta save it. Oh, it's already in there. I don't see it. That's weird. What format is it in, maybe? What format are you? It's a PNG. It's weird that it didn't save as what I wanted. Why isn't it showing it? Why aren't you showing it? It's in here. There we go. That'll do it. Okay. So now I come back here. Cool, they look good. That'll probably be an enemy eventually. Like maybe one that's like moves slower but shoots at you or something. I'm gonna send the boys a screenshot. Be right back. I gotta grab some coffee.
we've got the vials being deleted when the player collides.
Turn to lurk, gotta hit the road for a few, have fun storming the castle. I don't understand the storming the castle reference, but thank you.
With them, but we actually need to increment some kind of experience number when the vial is collected. And so we're going to get into custom signals and how we can use those for our purposes. So there's a problem here, which is that we need to tell some other node that an experience vial has been collected, but it's not very clear how we're going to do that. What we are going to have is we're going to have an upgrade manager node that will keep track of the current experience number and then trigger the appropriate upgrades when necessary. And perhaps we'll call it an experience manager. So let's go ahead and do that first before we get into the custom signals. So hit Control N, we're going to add a type of other node and use the root node type. Call this experience manager. Go ahead and save that in.
Hotkeys are not working. Oh, just the line. Oh, okay. Princess Bride reference. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Lance. Thank you for the follow. You're awesome. Really do appreciate those. Been getting a ton of follows since I switched to Godot. Need to make more videos. Oh, it is working.
Of other node and use the root node type. Call this experience manager. Go ahead and save that into res scenes manager. Go ahead and save it in there. Perfect. And let's go ahead and put that experience manager in our main here. So right click main, instantiate child node, experience manager. Go ahead and drag that up with the other managers. Perfect. Okay, let's go back to our experience manager and we'll add a script. So click experience manager. Go ahead and drag that up with the other managers. Perfect. Okay, let's go back to our experience manager and we'll add a script. So click on the script here and then default settings are okay. Let's create a variable at the top. We're going to call it variable current underscore experience is equal to 0. And let's clear out these functions and we're going to create our own function increment experience. And we'll pass in a number as an argument. So number typed as a float, colon at the end. And then we can say current experience plus equals number. So this is a very simple thing, very simple function that we can use to increment our current experience. Now we are going to want to enhance this with some kind of detection of whether we've hit the next level and we should have an upgrade. That's to come later, but for now, let's go ahead and write print current experience. And what that will do is that will print the experience value to the output console. So of course the problem is, how do we call increment experience? There's a number of ways we could do it. We could, if we wanted to, add the experience manager to our own group and then detect that from the vial. But I think a better way to do it is to use a global events singleton. So this global event singleton that we're going to create will have a way for the vials to call some function that notifies the rest of the game that a vial has been collected. So let's go back to our 2D view, hit Control N on the keyboard, and then we're going to create another node of base node type. Call this game events. Let's go ahead and save it, but in this case, we're going to create a new folder and we're going to call it autoload. So create a new folder in your scenes directory called autoload and save game events in there. And then let's go ahead and
save it in scenes, new folder, autoload.
we're going to call it autoload. So create a new folder in your scenes directory called autoload and save game events in there. And then let's go ahead and add a script. Default settings are okay. So let's clear out all of these methods here. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write underneath extends node class name game events. First, let's stub out some methods that we're going to want. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's create a function, and we're going to call this emit vial collected. Let's call it experience vial collected. So emit the experience vial collected. Let's pass in a number typed as a float and have a colon at the end, as usual with functions. And what we're going to do is we need to emit our own custom signal. And so remember how we're using signals throughout the app. We're using the timeout to detect when a timer is done. We're using area enter to collect area 2D collisions. Well, we can create our own signals to notify when our own game events have happened. And this doesn't need to go through a singleton autoload like we're creating. It can be used in any context that you want, really. And so the way that we define a custom signal is at the top of our script here. What I'm going to do is
Hey Osamu, I went to see Dungeons & Dragons and it was an excellent movie. I didn't know that it actually took place on Swords Coast, in Forgotten Realms. I'm not really huge into D&D, but I'm assuming that's like something somebody who knows a lot about D&D would know. But that's good that you liked it. I actually heard it was really good. I don't have a lot of friends that wanted to watch it, so I figured I'd just wait for video. Usually with like action movies and stuff, Marvel or Star Wars or whatever, I get one of my nephews to go with me. But, you know. It's, I'm glad you liked it though. That's good. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I won't be able to go. I could go in theaters. I thought about going by myself, but you know, that's how it goes.
I'm going to use the signal keyword, and this is going to be called experience underscore vial underscore collected. And then we're going to pass in the number, which is a float. So you'll notice that this takes the form of somewhat looking like a...
Baldur's Gate is on Swords Coast, you know, the RPG? Oh, so it connects to Baldur's Gate? I remember that. I think. I didn't play the new Baldur's Gate, but I played the original like way back in the day.
A function. And let's go ahead and write pass in here in the emit experience file collected real quick just to get rid of that error. So now if I go over to my game events node here in the scene doc, and I go to node, you can see now that I...
Oh, so is the game like take place in the Baldur's Gate universe? Is it like connected to that game? Like with the IP and everything? Because that would technically make it a video game movie. Oh, wow. So it's like a secret video game movie. So like even Baldur's Gate fans didn't even know that it was connected to Baldur's Gate. That's wild. Like, that's like the opposite of what everybody else does when they make a video game movie. They're like, here's our crappy movie. Let me show you all of our IPs to get you in. In the Swords of Coast region. Oh, so all those games are connected? That's crazy, man. I didn't even know that. That's a whole like thing I never really got into. Did the new Baldur's Gate game come out? I remember it was like in beta forever. Anyway, that's very cool, dude. Exciting. Exciting stuff. Yeah, it's been in beta forever. Games get don't they know that games get released in beta now? That's the way you do it in 2023. It's like you have to ship a physical copy. What are they, a bunch of dinosaurs?
I can actually see that my custom signal is here. Experience vial collect. I go to node, you can experience file collected real quick just to get rid of that error. So now if I go over to my game events node here in the scene doc, and I go to node, you can see now that I can actually see that my custom signal is here. Experience file collected with number as a variable. And
there it is, yeah.
So in order for this signal to notify anything that's listening to it, we need to emit it. And so what we're going to do in this function is we're going to get rid of the pass, and we're just going to say experience vial collected dot emit.
Mathroom C, hi, you're up early. I actually usually wake up pretty early. My day usually is like 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I've been up for like an hour and plus, like an hour and a half. It's just not so much that I stream at those times. Oh, so Asamu, you're more influenced by D&D than SNES. I'm more SNES for sure. Welcome, Mathrim. I'm assuming you're from... It's strange that you say that, because where is it really early right now? Maybe Japan. It's like 1 a.m. But in California, it's already like 10:54, which I wouldn't consider early. In Hawaii, it's 7:54. But there's only in like Alaska is it early, really. Or no, not even, because there's not really any time zones west of here for like 4 more hours. So then it would be like really early. Oh, I rated you. Oh, you're the guy I rated. Who's doing the Unity project. Also fresh to Unity. We're talking about... Oh, okay. Sorry. I see your shout out now, man. You know, I'm in a game jam mode, bro. I forgot. Yeah, hey, this guy's cool. Follow this guy. Let me do a shout out to my 5 followers. Shout out. This isn't my normal rating streaming time. Wait, that's the wrong. Did it work? Yeah, that's right. Okay. If you like Godot, this guy's cool. He was doing it was like I actually didn't see too much of the gameplay. Yeah, he's a Godot guy as well. But look, this is my game so far. It'll make it so these are like, you pick up these little capsules to get upgrades and experience, and then right now I have one ability which is like a lightsaber thing that just strikes whoever's the closest. And it'll be where it like turns and faces you. And you shoot them. I got a song here, guys. Listen to my song. You get the real experience. This is from, I had a composer. So you'll be playing like this, like running around. This is the intro song. I don't take damage yet, so. Wheel of Time books, Matrim Cathone. Not familiar. So that music isn't actually in the game yet, but you get the idea. Yeah. I like that music too. Wait, so who was it that rated me? Oh, it wasn't. Okay. I'm getting confused.
And then we're going to pass in that number that we're passing in. Going to emit our signal for anything that's listening to it. Before we go any further, go ahead and go to Project Settings, go to the Auto Load tab, and we're going to add to Project Settings, go to the Auto Load tab, and we're going to add, using this folder button right here, we're going to add our game events. So I'm going to go to Scene, Auto Load, and then attach game events. Make sure you attach the .tscn.
Cannot collide with an existing global scripts class name.
Does work with GD files, but we want to use the scene just in case we make any further modifications to the game event scene. We don't want it referencing the script only. So use .tscn here and then click add. And it looks like we actually don't need this class name. So go ahead and remove the class.
Okay, yeah, so he figured that out. So the class name game events is a global event, so you don't have to have that. Did you know that?
From
Did you know that
game
class
events right there.
Game events
and
was
then let's go back to our project settings, auto load, and go ahead and load it back up and click add. Okay, so we don't need that class name because it's automatically going to register the game events as a global script name, so we don't need to do that ourselves. So we've got our game events, and what an auto load.
Gotta save this.
At game events right there. And then let's go back to our project settings, auto load, and go ahead and load it back up and click add. Okay, so we don't need that class name because it's automatically going to register the game events as a global script name, so we don't need to do that ourselves. So we've got our game events, and what an auto load does is essentially it puts the node that you've specified in the scene tree at all times the moment the game starts. So this is essentially something that will always be available in your game unless you manually free it. So it doesn't matter if you're changing scenes, it doesn't matter what's happening in the game. As long as you are not specifically freeing this node, it will exist always. And so it's really good for things like singletons and other global managers. And so how are we going to connect to this game events signal? What we can do is we can go back over to our experience manager scene, click on back over to the inspector, just so everything's in context. Let's go ahead and open up the script by clicking on the script icon, and we've got our increment experience function here. So what we can do is let's override the ready method here, func_ready. And on ready, what we're going to do is we're going to say game events dot experience file collected dot connect. So notice how we are connecting to the experience file collected game event or game signal ourselves in this ready method, just like we were doing with timeout and area entered. And so I'm going to write on experience, let me shrink this so that it all looks good, on experience file collected. And then we can in here write that function, on experience file collected. And don't forget, we're getting the number as a float in here. And then all we can do is just call increment experience number. Now we could move this code here just into here if we wanted to, but the reason I don't is because I like to have my signal handlers as distinct functions from anything else that might be called. So it's feasible to assume that I could call increment experience from elsewhere in the app, right? And so in that case, it wouldn't make sense to call this method. So this method is reserved for handling the signal emission. So now that we've connected to that experience file, collected, the final piece of the equation is to emit it, right? So we're all connected up, but as of right now, nothing is telling the game events to emit that signal. And so we're going to hit Control-Shift-O. We're going to open up the experience file and go ahead and open up the experience file script by clicking the script button. And so on area entered, we're currently queue freeing it. But before we queue free it, let's go ahead and do game events dot emit experience file collected, and we'll just pass 1 for now. So this is telling the game events, go ahead and emit that signal with a value of 1, because that's how much we're going to add to the experience counter. And so now if everything worked correctly, we should be able to see in our output when we run the game that the number is gradually increasing as we run around and collect these vials. And look at that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now,
Where does he print it? Oh yeah, it works. Very cool.
We've got a number for our experience that's being tracked, that's flowing through a game events system, which we will probably be extending into the future. And that's basically how we can use custom signals to handle different events throughout the game. We've got vials in place, and we've got experience being counted based on the vials that you've picked up. But one thing that we're missing is the ability of the enemies to drop the vials. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to do that in a manner that allows us to easily add that functionality to future enemies that we might add to our game. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to use a technique known as composition. Composition is essentially what we've been doing with the native Godot functionality. We take a set of a bunch of different types of nodes. So for instance, if I go to my player, we have a bunch of different types of nodes here, and all of these nodes have distinct functionality, but together they compose the player entity. And so we're going to be doing something similar with our own nodes. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a vial drop component. And the vial drop component will be able to listen for when the enemy dies and then spawn a vial at the enemy position if a certain threshold is met. But before we do that, we want to implement a health component first so that the vial drop component can listen for that. So let's go ahead and create a health component, and that will allow us to create the concept of health as well. So let's create a new node, Control N, click on Other Node, make this node a plain old node type. Let's call this Health Component. Let's save it into Scenes, and then let's create a new folder called Component, and let's save the health component in there. So let's go ahead and add a script, and the default settings are appropriate. And we're going to add an export variable at the top, at export var, and we'll call it max_health float. And we can just set it, we can initialize it to something like 10. So now you can see that our health component has a max health property that we can edit through the inspector. Okay, so what kind of functionality does our health component?
I gotta take a break real quick. I'm gonna use the restroom. Got like about an hour till I have to leave, so it looks like the next things I'll be implementing are damage, the health component, experience bar, and then basically some UI stuff, hopefully before I go. But I'll be back though. I'll be back. Oh. I think I'm gonna do some push-ups. Might be able to see the top of my head, maybe not.
component need. We're going to clear out these functions and we're going to write drop component will be able to listen for when the enemy dies and then spawn a vial at the enemy position if functionality. We take a set of a bunch of different types of nodes. So for instance, if I go to my player, we have a bunch of different types of nodes here, and all of these nodes have distinct functionality, but together they compose the player entity. And so we're going to be doing something similar with our own nodes. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a vial drop component. And the vial drop component will be able to listen for when the enemy dies and then spawn a vial at the enemy position if a certain threshold is met. But before we do that, we want to implement a health component first so that the vial drop component can listen for that. So let's go ahead and create a health component, and that will allow us to create the concept of health as well. So let's create a new node, Control N, click on Other Node, make this node a plain old node type. Let's call this component first so that the vial drop component can listen for that. So let's go ahead and create a health component, and that will allow us to create the concept of health as well. So let's create a new node, Control N. Click on Other Node, make this node a plain old node type. Let's call this health component. Let's save it into scenes, and then let's create a new folder called component, and let's save the health component in there. So let's go ahead and add a script, and the default settings are appropriate, and we're going to add an export variable at the top. Let's save it into scenes, and then let's create a new folder called component, and let's save the health component in there. So let's go ahead and add a script, and the default settings are appropriate, and we're going to add an export variable at the top, at export var, and we'll call it max_health float. And we can just set it, we can initialize it to something like 10. So now you can see that our health component has a max health property that we can edit through the inspector. Okay, so what kind of functionality does our health component need? We're going to clear out these functions, and we're going to write a new function, func damage, and then we're going to take a damage parameter, which is going to be a float, and we need to subtract the current health based on the damage that's coming in. So let's just write pass here, and then up below the max health export variable, let's do another variable called current_health. And we actually do need that ready method, so let's go ahead and add that ready method back in. So func_ready. We're going to just say current health is equal to max health on ready. Perfect. Okay, so when we damage the entity, we need to take current health and subtract with minus equals the damage. Now, we actually don't want the health to be negative ever. And so a more appropriate way to do this might be something like this. Current health equals max of current health minus damage and 0. So max takes the maximum value of the two supplied arguments. And so in this case, if we ever end up with a negative amount when we take the damage being passed in away from the current health, the maximum value becomes 0. So this is essentially enforcing that we never drop below 0 for our current health. Then what we can do is we can say if current health is equal to 0, then what do we need to do? We need to die. However, we don't really have anything here that controls the death. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom signal above the export variable. So signal died. And then when our current health equals 0, what we can do is we can do died.emit, just like so. So again, this is just going to notify anything that's listening that we've died. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to use owner owner.queueFree. So what is this owner? It's a little bit tricky to explain. Owner is the node that constitutes the root of the scene that this node exists in. So in this scene, in my health component scene, my owner is nothing. My owner is null. Why? Because this health component is the root of its scene. So it doesn't have an owner. There's nothing that owns it. If I were to add, let's say, a sprite 2D as a child, this sprite 2D's owner is the health component, right? Let's take a look at a different scene. My player. My player's area 2D has an owner that is equal to the player. The player does not have an owner. So when we go to our basic enemy, so I'm going to Control-Shift-O and open up the basic enemy, when I instantiate the health component, which you should do this as well, so go ahead and instantiate a health component. Underneath basic enemy with Control-Shift-A, like so. This health component now has an owner, which is basic enemy. So if we look at that script, what does doing owner.queueFree do? Owner.queueFree frees the scene that this health component belongs to. Now we'll probably move this at some point out of this, but it makes sense for now to put this functionality in the health component. So let's go to our basic enemy script. So open up the basic enemy scene and then click on the script icon. So when we have this on area entered, instead of calling queueFree, we actually want to apply damage to the health component, right? So let's go up below our max speed and let's get an on ready reference to the health component. So on ready var health component is equal to $health component. And what we can do is we can go to our health component script again, and underneath the node, we can write class_name health component. And this will allow us to cast things to the health component type, which will give us the IntelliSense we need or the code suggestions we need to, for example, use damage and connect to the died signal. So I'm going to go back to my basic enemy script, and I'm going to type this health component as a type of health component. Perfect. And so now in the on area entered, I'm just going to do something very simple. Health component dot damage. And let's just go ahead and put 100 in there. So we've removed the queueFree from the basic enemy, and we're using the health component instead. Now, obviously, we're not getting any damage from the other area, and that's fine. We will work on abilities transferring damage in a future lesson. Okay, so we should basically see no functional change when we run the game. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so the sword appears and still kills the rats. Okay, so that's looking great. And Godot is warning me about the local function parameter damage shadowing an already declared function. So the problem is that I have a and then click on the script icon. So when we have this on area, if we look at that script, what does doing owner.queueFree do? Owner.queueFree frees the scene that this health component belongs to. Now we'll probably move this at some point out of this, but it makes sense for now to put this functionality in the health component. So let's go to our basic enemy script. So open up the basic enemy scene and then click on the script icon. So when we have this on area entered, instead of calling queueFree, we actually want to apply damage to the health component, right? So let's go up below our max speed and let's get an on ready reference to the health component. So on ready var health component is equal to $health component. And what we can do is we can go to our health component script again, and underneath the node, we can write class_name health component. And this will allow us to cast things to the health component type, which will give us the IntelliSense we need or the code suggestions we need to, for example, use damage and connect to the died signal. So I'm going to go back to my basic enemy. Is we can go to our health component script again, and underneath the node, we can write class_name health component. And this will allow us to cast things.
That's what I missed.
Things to the health component type, which will give us the IntelliSense we need or the code suggestions we need to, for example, use damage and connect to the died signal. So I'm going to go back to my basic enemy script, and I'm going to type this health component as a type of health component. Perfect. And so now in the on.
Oh, I see. I'm duplicating it here. That's what I did wrong.
On area entered, I'm just going to do something very simple. Health component dot.
The hell? What was that?
Damage. And let's just go ahead and put 100 in there. So we've removed the queueFree from the basic enemy, and we're using the health component instead. Now, obviously, we're not getting any damage from the other area, and that's fine. We will work on abilities transferring damage in a...
Other Other area, area 2D. Everything looks right. Invalid operand float. An operator. Oh. Bro, I'm so dumb. Current health equals max current health minus damage.
Future lesson. Okay, so we should basically see no functional change when we run the game.
I'm missing something.
Experience being counted based on the vials that you've picked up. But one thing that we're missing is the ability of the enemies to drop the vials. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to do that in a manner that allows us to easily add that functionality to future enemies that we might add to our game. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to use a technique known as composition. Composition is essentially what we've been doing with the native Godot functionality. We take a set of a bunch of different types of nodes. So for instance, if I go to my player, we have a bunch of different types of nodes here, and all of these nodes have distinct functionality, but together they compose the player entity. And so we're going to be doing something similar with our own nodes. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a vial drop component. And the vial drop component will be able to listen for when the enemy dies and then spawn a vial at the enemy position if a certain threshold is met. But before we do that, we want to implement a health component first so that the vial drop component can listen for that. So let's go ahead and create a health component, and that will allow us to create the concept of health as well. So let's create a new node, Control N, click on Other.
That's so weird. Why is it not like that? Health component. Damage. If current health equals 0.
other node, make this node a, we're going to say dot died, which is the signal. Go ahead and save this, and we'll just call it vial drop component. We'll put it right next to the health component. Perfect. And let's go ahead and add a script. And what we're going to do this time at export var vial underscore scene, that's going to be of type packed scene. Let's override the ready function. And what are we going to do in this ready function? Well, we actually need a reference to the health component as well. So let's just write pass in our ready method here, just so that it doesn't error. Let's create another control N, and same deal, make this a basic node type. Let's call it vial drop, getting any damage from the other area, and that's fine. We will work on abilities transferring damage in a future lesson. Okay, so we should basically see no functional change when we run the game. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so the sword appears and still kills the rats. Okay, so that's looking great.
Oh, there it is. I misspelled damage. Fuck. Oh man. I thought I implemented a slow look at them, but I guess I didn't. It's fine. I'll do it later.
And Godot is warning me about the local function parameter damage shadowing an already declared function. So the problem is that I have a function called damage and the parameter is called damage as well. And that can be a problem because if I were to call damage again in this function, it might be
like,
ambiguous as to what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to rename this damage parameter to damage amount. So if you highlight this damage and then press Control D, that will highlight the second instance of damage that we're using here. Then I'm just going to write damage underscore amount. And that should be just fine. Okay, so we've got the health component configured. And obviously we can go to our enemy here and we can change the amount.
Control D. What? Doesn't work.
Of health that damage parameter to damage amount. So if you highlight this damage and then press Control D, that will
highlight it. Push Control D. Oh, there we go.
highlight the second instance of damage that we're using here. Then I'm just going to write damage.
Hey, I don't know if you're still here, Matrim, but last night when I talked to you, we were talking about an ability to change like all of the variables on a script or something like that. I don't know if this is what you meant, but if you highlight it and push Control D, and then you just type what you want. It'll change both of them. Did you see what I did there? I don't know if that's... I remember briefly we were talking about something like that and I forgot how to do it. But that might have not been what you're trying to do. But you can like get all the variables in a given script, or even functions too, right? Like if I were to grab current health, well, that's still a variable. But if I push Control D, then I can change them all together. In this case, I'm doing it with damage. Control D.
Amount of health that the enemy has just through the editor here. And so with this health component,
did you know about that trick?
We can now add this.
I don't know if that's like a Visual Studio Code thing.
Health component to any entity we want to have health. And in this function, it might be ambiguous as to what I'm referring to. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to rename this damage parameter to damage amount. So if you highlight this damage and then press Control D, that will highlight the second instance of damage that we're using here. Then I'm just going to write damage underscore amount.
It was finding all references to a variable throughout all files. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Godot should have that. But yes, that's definitely a different thing. And this, did you know about this? Or when you say that's useful, did you know about it or did you not know about it? Because I mean, it's still, as far as like the task you're trying to perform, this would make it easier. Sort of. I guess you could just do search and replace. Yeah. Oh, cool. So you got something out of it. Control D.
And that should be just fine. Okay, so we've got the health component configured, and obviously we can go to our enemy here and we can change the amount of health that the enemy has just through the edit.
Man, I was gonna use this tutorial for the game jam, and I'm like realizing as we get deeper in, like I was able to do the beginning really fast because I had like some Godot exposure, but now he's moving like fast, dude. Which is good. Like the way the course is structured is good, but because I knew some Godot at the beginning and he was like going through the basics, like I was able to go through that really fast. But now it's like for every hour of video, it takes me like 2 hours to complete everything he says. In addition to making the changes that I want for my specific game, because my game looks like nothing like his. So yes. There's a lot of little good features that nobody talks about. As content creators, though, if you want to make tutorial videos on Godot, like this would be a great YouTube short, right? Like, hey, little Godot tricks. In fact, I'm gonna make a short of that. I'll write it down. Control D. I could make a whole like Godot shorts like series of videos just on like shortcut keys. As a content creator, like there's tons of opportunities in Godot 4 specifically to create content to show people how to do it. I really think Godot is like a very much just getting started, even though it's already extremely popular. But here in the United States, with English-speaking countries, especially like Godot is gonna be like a big thing. There's just so many advantages to it over Unity for learning coding and game design and stuff. I don't know if it's definitely superior to Unity in the prototyping. I don't know about the actual production game because a lot of the built-in engine stuff is just kind of funky, but for like polished looking games. But you know, as I learned how to work with like the way it handles pixel art, I'm not too sold on. And a lot of the built-in like next neighbor stuff is kind of funky, jitters. Where out of the box, Unity is a lot stronger for displaying art.
Editor here. And so with this health component built, we can now add this health component to. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to rename this damage parameter to damage amount. So if you highlight this damage and then press Control D, that will highlight the second instance of damage that we're using here. Then I'm just going to write damage underscore amount. And that should be just fine. Okay, so we've got the health component configured, and obviously we can go to our enemy here and we can change the amount of health that the enemy has just through the editor here. And so
that's cool.
With this health component built, we can now add this health component to any entity we want to have health, and it becomes a nice reusable piece of code. This is composition. We're going to use this health component all over the place for all kinds of purposes, and we don't need to keep writing the same code over and over again. So with the health component built, let's write a vial drop component. So let's hit Control N, and same deal, make this a basic node type. Let's call it vial drop component. So let's go ahead and save this, and we'll just call it vial drop component. We'll put it right next to the health component. Perfect. And let's go ahead and add a script. And what we're going to do this time, though, is we're going to turn off the template. So we don't want to have the ready method and process method defined for us anymore. We have a good grasp of the scripting, so we're just going to create, and all we're going to get is the extends node, which is perfectly fine. So the vial drop component, what do we need? Well, we need a reference to the vial scene. So let's go ahead and write @export var vial underscore scene. That's going to be of type packed scene. Let's override the ready function. And what are we going to do in this ready function? Well, we actually need a reference to the health component as well. So let's just write pass in our ready method here, just so that it doesn't error. Let's create another export variable, and we're going to call it health component node, just like so. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to supply the health component path in the editor. And then on ready, what we can do is we can say health component as health component, and we'll parenthesize that. We're going to say .died, which is the signal, .connect on died. So it's that simple. And then we're going to go func on died. And what do we want to do on death? Well, we want to do a check. If vial scene is equal to null, then we're just going to return out of that because we can't, the vial scene is not defined. So what do we want to do? We want to spawn the vial at the position of the enemy. And the vial drop component is going to be another node alongside the health component. So we can use the owner again.
Health component as health component, died.connect on died. That code looks right. On died not declared in the current scope. Okay. File scene, pack scene node. I guess whatever. Okay. Func on. Oh, yeah, right here. On died. This is where it is. If file scene.
Again to grab the position. Now, this is a little bit unsafe because we're not guaranteed that the owner is going to be a node 2D. So we could write a check. We could say, if owner is not node 2D, then we can return. And I've got this order of the is not reversed a little bit. Not has to come first. So if not owner is node 2D, then we're going to return. Which means that if we make it past that, then our owner is a node 2D. And so what I can do...
If not owner... I don't really understand what he's doing here. But I guess wherever the file is dropped, if it's a node 2D, then you return. So he's basically checking if it's not an owner or if it's null, then he's going to not run this code.
Is I can say var spawn position is equal to owner, so parentheses first, owner as node 2D dot global position. Perfect. So that's our spawn position. Then we're going to take the vial scene. So we're gonna instantiate that. So we'll say vial instance is equal to vial scene dot instantiate. Again, we should instantiate this as a node 2D so that we get the proper IntelliSense. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the owner dot get parent. So we're going to, for instance, add it as a child to the parent of the owner. Get parent add child vial instance. And then we're going to set vial instance dot global position equal to spawn position. Perfect. So let's go to our basic enemy and let's instantiate a child scene underneath it. And we're going to instantiate the vial drop component. What we're going to do is we're going to take the owner dot get parent. So we're going to, for instance, add it as a child to the parent of the owner. Get parent add child vial instance. And then we're going to set vial instance dot global position equal to spawn position.
So basically vial instance dot global position equals spawn position.
Perfect. So let's go to our basic enemy and let's instantiate a child scene underneath it. And we're going to instantiate the vial drop component. And we're
gotta save this. Where did he save the vial drop component? In component, okay. So here. Okay, so back to basic enemy, instantiate, child node.
We're going to put it right next to the health component in the tree here. And now let's assign the health component in the health component property. But we're not going to assign the vial scene here. We actually want to assign the vial scene within the vial drop component itself. So open up the vial drop component and search your file system for experience vial and go ahead and drag that over to the vial scene. So now if we go back to our base...
Okay, I gotta use the bathroom real quick. Be right back. Whew, how's everybody doing, man?
Basic enemy, you can see when I hover over the vial drop component, that vial scene is populated. And then we're going to set vial instance.global position equal to spawn position. Perfect. So let's go to our basic enemy and let's instantiate a child scene underneath it. And we're going to instantiate the vial drop component and we're going to put it right next to the health component in the tree here. And now let's assign the health component in the health component property, but we're not going to assign the vial scene here. We actually want to assign the vial scene within the vial drop component itself. So open up the vial drop component and search your create a child scene underneath it. And we're going to instantiate the vial drop component and we're going to put it right next to the health component in the tree here. And now let's assign the health component in the health component property. But we're not going to assign the vial scene here. We actually want to assign the vial scene within the vial drop component itself. So open up the vial drop component and search your file system for experience vial and go ahead and drag that over to the vial scene. So now if we go back to our base,
Which one did he grab?
we actually want to assign the vial scene within the vial drop component itself. So open up the vial drop component and search your file system for experience vial. And go ahead and drag that over to the vial scene. So now if we go back to our basic enemy, you can see when I hover over the vial drop component, that vial scene is populated. So now whenever we instantiate the vial drop component, the only thing that will need to be set is the health component, which will point to the local health component. Okay, let's go back to our main and let's delete all of these experience vials. So hold shift and click the first one and the last one to delete all of them by pressing delete. And then let's go ahead and run the game. And so as these things die, they should drop vials. Perfect. So there's one vial. Now we're getting a couple of errors here. Oh.
Cool, it works. Look at that.
Okay, so here's another quirk of Godot. If you look at your errors, you will see can't change state while flushing queries. And this is because we're trying to free something that is in the middle of handling collisions. That's just a Godot quirk. I'm not sure exactly why this is the case, but the way that we get around that error is we actually need to use call deferred. And what deferred calling does is it waits until the idle frame to call a function. So if we go to our health component here, what we're going to do is we are going to create a new function called check_death in our health component. We're going to take this if current health is equal to 0. We're going to take that out and put it underneath that check death as the check death function body. And then in here, what we're going to do, we're going to use callable. So capital C, this is a type, callable. And then in parentheses, we're going to put in a reference to check death. Now, your autocomplete is going to want to automatically call it by using parentheses. We don't want that. So remove those parentheses. This should just be passing in a reference to the function in the callable. And then we can do .call deferred. And so what that's going to do is that's going to take this function and then call it on the next idle frame. And then we're going to do the check death function at that point, and then we can handle all the stuff we were handling. So let's go ahead and run the game again. And that error...
Yeah, they drop loot now. Bro, this is already like a really cool game.
should no longer be happening. And we can see that vials are being spawned, and I can go ahead and pick them up. So one final thing to do before we wrap up this lesson, which I know is a little bit longer than the others, is we want to add a drop % chance to the vial component. And so let's go ahead and go back to our vial component script. As the first export variable, let's actually reorder some things. Let's move the pack scene below everything. So use Alt and down on your keyboard to move that line down. And then the first export is going to be export var drop % float. Now, what we can actually do instead of just a plain old export is we can do export underscore range, and then we can, in parentheses, define what the range is. So we can say 0 as the min and 1 as the max. And so if we go to our vial drop component over on the left here, we can see a drop %, and it cannot exceed 1, and it cannot go below 0. So this is nice because it doesn't make sense to have a more than 100% or a less than 0% drop rate. Perfect. And then the last thing that we're going to do with the vial drop is we're just going to set it initially to, let's just say 0.5. So it'll have a 50% drop rate by default. That will be configurable. And the reason that you might want to set a default variable on your exports is because if I go over to this drop % and I drag it, you can see that this little arrow appears when the value is not equal to its default value. And that's nice because now I can just click the arrow to reset it to what I've got hard-coded in the script. So if you want to just provide some sensible defaults for anything that you're exporting, that's always handy to do. And so now we need to take into account that drop %, right? So what we can do simply is we can just say if randf, so randf returns, you can control click into things, by the way. So if I hold control and then click into randf, that will take me right to the documentations for that. And that says it returns a floating point value between 0 and 1. So it's going to be very simple to do what we need to do. We can just say if randf, it's a function, so invoke it, is less than or equal to drop %. Actually, let's not do that. Let's say if randf is greater than drop %, return. So basically, if our randf is not within the range of 0 to drop %, then we're just going to return out of that function. Okay, so now if we run the game and test it, we should see that roughly half the enemies drop vial. That will take me right to the documentations for that, and that got hard-coded in the script. So if you want to just provide some sensible defaults for anything that you're exporting, that's always handy to do. And so now we need to take into account that drop %, right? So what we can do simply is we can just say if randf, so randf returns, you can control click into things, by the way. So if I hold control and then click into randf, that will take me right to the documentations for that. And that says it returns a floating point value between 0 and 1. So it's going to be very simple to do what we need to do. We can just say if randf, it's a function, so invoke it, is less than or equal to drop %. Actually, let's not do that. Let's say if randf is greater than drop %, return. So basically, if our randf is not within the range of 0 to drop %, then we're just going to return out of that function. Okay, so now if we run the game and test it, we should see that roughly half the enemies drop vials when they die. So that one dropped one. That one did not. That one did. That one of them did. So it looks to be working just fine. Okay, so that was an introduction to components. We've now got a health component and a vial drop component that we can use to configure our game as we continue work into the future.
So next is damage. I don't know if I'll be able to stream much more of this, but whew. Then we're gonna do experience, which is ultimately what I need. I'm gonna use the experience as your score for the leaderboards at the end of the jam. Do you think I should try and export a version on my itch yet? I don't want to. Shared array buffer. Send correct headers. For Chrome, but all Node. Shared array buffer support. Memory access out of bounds. Hey, what's up? Matic. I'm troubleshooting an issue with trying to put my Godot Game Jam game on HTML5. What were you guys doing? Specifically for itch, it's saying it doesn't like empty functions, which is like stupid. Thank you for the follow, Ogmatic. Here, I'll do a shout out. I got maybe a couple more minutes and I gotta go. Follow you back. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm game dev stream. Mostly I'm doing a game jam this weekend. I'm gonna go for a bit. I'll be gone for like 10 hours and then I'll be back again. Probably do an all-nighter tonight. Vector math with Unreal. Yeah, that sounds rough. I'm trying to put my game on itch, my game jam game. At least a rough version of it. It doesn't seem to work. It's saying it's because of memory access bounds, which usually means that that functions, there's like an incomplete function somewhere. I don't really think that's the case. Why is it highlighting that? That's weird. What is this? Tell me what is going on. Oh, it's a break point? Yeah, that should fix that. Oh, yeah, okay. What was it before? Weird. There must have been a space in here or something I didn't see. Damn you, strict Godot. I'll try export it one more time. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna just put it on itch and then I'll work on it at my job. I don't want to do that on stream though. Let's go raid somebody. So who we got? Who's on? Red Cabin Games, Team Vosh. Is anybody doing this space? Score space. Mort. Crit Rocket Retro. Nickname generator. John Birch. I've rated this guy recently.
Now I'll go.
Could do Mort or.
All of this should now work. Yes.
Let's raid Mort.
This is just
He's the one.
interface that shouldn't really maybe press yes burn.
Oh, he doesn't allow raids.
I'll just kind of like do something random at first.
Interesting. I don't get why people don't do raids. Well, if he doesn't want to raid, then I did nickname generator pretty recently. Do Red Cabin. This game's similar to mine.
Action. No, not
It's
action.
like Unity.
Oh, ship actions. It was up
I
there.
want to see if anybody is doing Godot.
Actions bar.
I want to make friends with Godot people. People in the Godot club. Let's do this guy. Call
Hour
me.
until it finally
3,
did
2, 1.
quite a working solution, but it's far from efficient. Yeah, well, at least it gave me some hints, I guess, on how the function should work, but it was giving me like
No, wait.
the coordinates.
Cancel.
It was giving me in the
Raid
output were inverted
Kalame
or
3, 2, 1.
there was a small error in there. Yeah. I did end up fixing the problem, but yeah. But in general, it was pretty good.
Okay, everybody, thank you for coming.
Next
It has been a
design.
blast. Good stream. I'm going to stream it again in like 10 hours when I come back from my job.
On reset.
And yeah.
Why
Yeah.
scale changed?
I'll be back doing more of this Vampire Survivor style space game.
On self.
And
Why scale changed?
hopefully I'll be able to upload it on itch. If not, I'm going to have to make my own server,
why
which I don't
scale
have one
change?
set up that can handle that right now. So that'd be another.
Why scale change? Yes.
That'd be a shitty thing. I guess I might be able to pass it
I
off that
guess
it's a
when
glitch that
we'll-
I can't get itch
When
to
we'll
work.
be
So
more into the
maybe
lore
people will be
of
more forgiving
Project
with the time.
42G, I guess we could ask a bunch of, ask ChatGPT for some help.
But anyway,
with
I'll see y'all later.
designing the
I gotta go to
world
work.
and stuff.
Bye.
That would be interesting. And finding the name for the game. Yeah. Oh my. Hello, everyone. Oh my, that's an